It's hard to believe how fast things have unraveled for Celtic. Another crushing defeat, this time at Tynecastle, and now the team finds itself 8 points behind Hearts in the league. Not long ago, it would have been unthinkable to be talking about Celtic sitting third in a title race where Hearts look more composed, more organized, and far more hungry. But here we are. And if you watch that match, you know it's not just about the scoreline. It's about the mood, the mentality, the lack of identity, and the growing feeling that this team is drifting towards something we've seen before: collapse. The performance against Hearts wasn't just poor, it was alarming. From the lineup decisions to the body language on the pitch, it looked like a Celtic team playing without belief, without leadership, and without any real answers. You could point to injuries, yes, but the problems go far deeper than a few missing names. Brendan Rodgers is in the middle of his worst spell since returning to the club, and while he's trying to project calm and optimism, the reality is starting to weigh heavily. The Celtic support is running out of patience. Let's talk about that starting 11 for a minute. There were changes, of course, some enforced, but the decision to go with Dane Murray and Donovan on the right side of defense against a team like Hearts, away from home, was baffling. That level of inexperience together on the same flank, up against one of the most in-form wingers in the country, was asking for trouble. And trouble came. Dane Murray, unfortunately, had a nightmare of an afternoon, directly involved in all 3 goals conceded. That third goal in particular, the penalty, was pure naivety. Braga was moving away from goal, no real threat, and Murray dives in for no reason. It's inexperience, but it also speaks to a lack of guidance on the pitch. Where was the leadership to calm him down? Where was the structure to protect a young player clearly struggling? And it's not just about that one mistake. It's the same story we've seen week after week. This Celtic team, when it falls behind, looks finished. There's no fight, no sense of urgency. Remember the days when going a goal down sparked a response? When you knew the players would rally, that the crowd would lift them, that Celtic had another gear to go to? That feeling is gone. The moment Hearts scored their third, it felt like the final whistle had already blown. No one really believed a comeback was possible, and that speaks volumes about where this squad is right now. And here's the thing. That mentality of giving up, of shrinking when it matters, is becoming the norm. Last week at Dundee was dreadful. This was worse. And you can't ignore the manager's role in this. Brendan Rodgers can talk about balance and right-footed center backs all he wants, but let's be honest, starting Murray over Austin Trusty was a mistake. Trusty, for all his flaws, played in bigger games last season and handled himself well. But it seems like Rodgers has made up his mind on him, and he's not the only one. There's this sense now that Rodgers has his favorites, and once he's written a player off, that's it. Rio Hatate is another name that keeps getting mentioned for the wrong reasons. Week after week, he starts. And week after week, the same careless mistakes, the same lack of intensity. Even when the rest of the midfield looked relatively solid in the first half, Hatate stood out, for all the wrong reasons. It's like there's no accountability. Meanwhile, players like Yamada are barely seen. He came on against Hearts, his first appearance in nearly 10 matches. And whether you rate him highly or not, he's still more dynamic than Johnny Kenny, who's leading the line and barely touching the ball. These are Rodgers' decisions, and they're not working. That disconnect between manager and squad is growing more obvious. You look at the guys who came in during the last few windows. Many of them aren't being used at all. Some haven't even had a proper run of games. It's like Rodgers is sending a message: these aren't my players. And that stubbornness is killing us. Because while he's proving a point to the board, the team is suffering on the pitch. And don't be fooled into thinking this is just about Hearts being good. Yes, they were solid. Yes, they deserved the win. But they didn't even have to play out of their skin. They simply showed up, played with energy and confidence, and capitalized on a Celtic side that looks lost. That's the part that stings. Because this isn't just about one bad game. This is about the pattern we're seeing all season. Poor performances, players out of form, baffling tactical decisions, and a complete lack of momentum. Let's be honest, the league table doesn't lie. Celtic are 8 points behind Hearts and only 5 ahead of a Rangers team that's had one of its worst starts in years. Let that sink in. Rangers have sacked their manager, been mocked week after week, and they're still within touching distance. They've won 2 league games in 9, and they're 5 points behind us. That should terrify us. Because if they get any kind of form going under their new manager, this gap can disappear in weeks. And the way we're playing, who could argue against that happening? And that's before we even mention what's coming next. Falkirk midweek, then Rangers next weekend. That derby is now absolutely massive, not just for the title race, but for Rogers' future. A defeat to Rangers, especially at home, could be the final straw. Because while the board has historically been slow to act, fan pressure could tip the scales this time. Celtic Park will not be quiet if things go south. And the truth is, we've already seen enough warning signs. Just look at the numbers. In the calendar year of 2025, Celtic have played 45 matches across all competitions. Only 26 of those were wins. The longest winning streak this year? 3 games. That's it. We haven't even managed to string together 4 wins in a row. For a club of Celtic size, with the resources we have and the opposition we face domestically, that's unacceptable. And it's not just about results. The performances have been poor too. Too many games where we scrape by or rely on individual moments of brilliance. There's no identity, no style of play you can point to and say, that's Celtic. Teams have figured us out. Shut down McGregor, press the midfield, and we don't know what to do. And Brendan Rodgers, for all his experience and reputation, has shown no sign of solving that problem. When this team goes behind, heads drop. That's not the Celtic way. That's not what this club is built on. And you can see it, players walking, not pressing, not demanding the ball. There's a lack of leadership on the pitch, a lack of belief. Guys like McGregor and Forrest are still trying, but they can't do it alone. Too many around them have checked out. So what now? Rodgers says he's still motivated, that he believes will come good. But motivation means nothing if it doesn't translate onto the pitch. And right now, this squad doesn't look like one that believes in its manager or in itself. We're talking about the same issues every week. We've reached that point again, just like in the Lennon season, where everyone can see it unraveling, but the club hesitates. And that delay, that refusal to act early, is what turns bad seasons into disasters. And the worst part? This league is still winnable. The cups are still there to fight for. The Europa League knockout stage is still a possibility. But you need to act now. You need to inject belief into the squad. You need to fix what's broken. Because letting this drift, hoping Rodgers can magically turn it around, is the kind of blind faith that could cost Celtic everything this season. The brutal part about this whole mess is that it didn't have to be this way. Celtic had a chance to build on success. We had a squad full of winners, players who had done the job in the big moments, and the chance to back a returning manager with pedigree. Instead, we've completely misfired across multiple windows, leaving us with a squad that's not just thin on quality, it's also fractured in mentality. And what's worse, it feels like we've reached the point where no one inside the club is taking responsibility. The board stays silent. The manager sticks to the same scripts. The players go through the motions. And the fans are left watching a team that no longer looks or feels like Celtic. If you look at the group on the pitch against Hearts, how many of them genuinely look like they'd start for a title-chasing side? It's a harsh question, but it has to be asked. Donovan, Murray, Negrin, Kinney. Are these players who walk into the Hearts side right now? No chance. And that's the damning part. This isn't about budget anymore. It's not about resources. Celtic have the money. We've just made the wrong decisions time and time again. And you look at what that's created, a squad that feels cobbled together. A mix of youth not ready for the stage, veterans past their peak, and players who simply don't want to be here anymore. Brendan Rodgers looks like a man caught in the middle of it all. His press conferences sound more like damage control than direction. He keeps insisting the players are giving their all. He talks about bad luck and missed chances. But supporters aren't stupid. They see the regression. They feel the lifeless performances. And they hear the same explanations over and over. It doesn't matter how many times you say the season is long. If you keep playing like this, you won't be in the title race come February. And let's be honest, Rodgers' stubbornness is now a real problem. Players like Rio Hatate, who've been well off the pace for weeks, continue to start. Others, like Austin Trusty, are cast aside for reasons that no longer make sense. Rodgers spoke about needing a right and left-footed pairing at center back. But that logic falls apart when you consider Trusty and Scales kept a clean sheet in Italy last season. That was against Atlanta, not some mid-table Scottish side. And yet here we are, throwing a young player like Dane Murray into the fire and watching him crumble. We've seen it with his substitutions too. Balagusa coming on for Tilio, That move made no sense in the context of the game. The team needed urgency, someone who could stretch hearts and create chaos. Instead, we slowed down. Again. And then there's the Yamada situation. Barely seen all season, suddenly thrown into the mix when things are already slipping away. It's hard not to look at decisions like that and wonder whether this is a manager trying to send messages instead of trying to win football matches. Because right now, that's what it feels like. A manager more focused on proving points to the board than doing what's best for the team. He's clearly frustrated with the summer transfer window, and rightly so. But the message he sent to the players and to the fans when he compared the squad to a Honda Civic in a Ferrari race was devastating. Even if he tried to walk it back, the damage was done. You can't talk about your own players like that and expect them to run through walls for you. Especially not a group already low on confidence and motivation. And that's where the bigger worry lies. It's not just the tactics, or the bad signings, or the poor form. It's that this whole setup feels like it's collapsing from the inside. Players look like they've checked out. Rodgers looks like he's going through the motions. The board, as always, is nowhere to be seen. And the worst part is we've been here before. Under Neil Lennon. Under Tony Mowbray. We've seen this film. The difference is we should have learned the lesson by now. If the club continues to sit on its hands, if they wait until we're out of every competition before acting, this season will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. It's not too late. 8 points behind Hearts is far from terminal. 5 points ahead of Rangers is a position of strength, on paper. But the warning signs are everywhere. We're relying on players who aren't up to the level. We're seeing the same mistakes every week. And we're not learning. If this continues, it's only going to get worse. The derby next weekend looms over everything. Not just because of the rivalry or the bragging rights, but because it now feels like a crossroads moment. If Celtic lose that game, the noise will become deafening. And Brendan Rodgers, whether he wants to admit it or not, will find himself completely isolated. The board might still back him, for now. But the support? The ones filling the stadium every week, watching the slow decay unfold in front of them? Many of them are already done. And a defeat to Rangers, after everything we've seen this season, could tip everyone else over the edge. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The rumor mill has been spinning at full tilt in Glaswegian football circles this week, and it seems there's some substance to the whispers. Sources close to the club claim that Angus Gunn, the former Norwich City and Southampton goalkeeper, has been announced as the new shot stopper at Celtic, and supporters are already buzzing with speculation about what this could mean for the boys' ambitions this season. Gunn, a figure familiar to Premier League watchers, is said to have undergone a discreet medical and signed a deal behind closed doors, sparking excitement and curiosity in equal measure. Fans are already taking to social media in droves, debating whether Gunn's arrival will finally provide the stability between the sticks that Celtic have been craving. Some insist he's exactly the kind of experienced custodian who can command the back line and instill confidence in a defense that's shown flashes of vulnerability in recent campaigns. Others, of course, are skeptical, pointing out that moving from the English game to the Scottish Premiership is never a straightforward transition, and that Gunn will face the unique pressures of Celtic Park's famously fervent support. Inside sources hint that the signing is part of a broader strategy by Celtic's management to fortify the spine of the team, with the goalkeeper role being the first piece of the puzzle. It's said that negotiations were far from easy, with rival clubs reportedly sniffing around. But the allure of playing for a side with European ambitions seems to have swayed Gunn's decision. Meanwhile, the coaching staff are believed to be already plotting how to integrate him seamlessly into the squad, with training sessions reportedly buzzing with anticipation as Gunn gets familiar with his new teammates. The gossip doesn't stop there. Rumors suggest that his signing could unsettle some of the current goalkeepers at the club, with whispers of a shakeup in the pecking order that could see familiar faces pushed down the hierarchy. The supporters' forums are alive with debate, and matchday pubs are abuzz with theories about how Gunn's presence might affect Celtic's defensive record. One thing, however, is certain. The announcement has injected a fresh wave of optimism into the club, and all eyes will be on the boys' next outing to see whether Angus Gunn can indeed lock down the Celtic goal and become the hero the fans have been quietly hoping for. Whether this turns out to be a masterstroke or just another fleeting whisper in the Scottish football grapevine, the excitement is palpable, and Celtic supporters will be watching every save with keen anticipation. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.